Wicked problems. When I say that, what pops into your head? Which one of those many social illnesses facing our society today? Do you think of pollution, climate change, escalating healthcare costs, endangered animals, families who have too little to eat, social injustice? Unfortunately, the list is not short. But I'm not here to talk to you tonight about what's wrong with our world. I'm here to talk to you about how we can find the solution. And I promise you, it's right here in this room. It's not any one individual. It's not even all of us as a group. But it does exist, and it is possible. We just have to change everything. So when I think of a wicked problem, what I think of is cancer. My father was one of my best friends, and he's the one that taught me that I could go out and change the world. He made me believe that. Now, I really think my father thought I was going to be an astronaut or a lawyer, but he was proud when I went into nonprofit work. He didn't really understand what I do, like many of our parents. But he knew I was helping others, and for that, he was truly delighted. Many, many things tried to take my father's life. He had a blood disease that caused him to suffer multiple strokes. He was paralyzed, and he couldn't speak. But time and time again, the miracle of medicine in our America saved my father's life and brought him back. Until eventually, he was diagnosed with a very rare form of leukemia, one that typically only affects children. And because of that, because it's very rare and only affects children, only the nonprofit healthcare system is looking for a cure to that strain of leukemia. It simply is not profitable enough for pharmaceutical companies. To me, that's a wicked problem. A system that requires a profit motive to find a cure and save lives. But let me switch gears, because I want to talk about innovation, okay? You may have noticed it's the theme of this year's conference. So specifically, I want to talk to you tonight about innovation in higher education, right? Academia. We have a really bad reputation for being slow to change. Dinosaurs. In an era when technology and business strategies are moving at the speed of light. Our critics say that we created a skills gap. Students leaving our institutions aren't prepared for the careers that they're going to. They even call for the end of academic institutions, particularly with the onset of disruptors, like massive online open courses, technology in the classroom, technology as the classroom. These disruptors will push us far past our comfort zone. And in the end, if the academy is not willing or able to change, we will simply cease to exist. They say that academic institutions cannot keep up with the changing needs of the workforce. I recently heard a presentation from Dr. Michael Crow, who's president of Arizona State University. So I knew we would find out where the Sun Devils were sitting when I mentioned Dr. Crow. But he's certainly a visionary and a big disruptor in our market himself. So Dr. Crow in this talk was talking about how innovation has driven campuses to create full immersion learning experiences supercharged by technology. And his terminology for that is the new American university. He said that academic institutions need to be focused on those hard skills that students need, such as data analytics and persuasive writing. But they also need to be focused on soft skills, like working in teams. He calls for the change in academia, make students aware of careers and connect them to those careers. So let's say we were going to go down this path to create an academic program that's truly workforce driven. We'd want to start with experiential learning. And by experiential learning, I mean practical experience. Students shouldn't just read about fundraising, they should create fundraising campaigns and implement them. Academic programs would require an internship, service learning activities, and they would infuse application in every aspect of their programs. Why, they would even send students out on a case study in the community to help solve a real problem. You may have guessed that I'm talking about the CMP program as it exists today. Is it innovative? Sure. Is it new? No. Since our very beginning, we've infused practical experience into our CMP because we know the best way to prepare students for the workforce is to reduce the learning curve by practical experience. Independent research conducted by LinkedIn shows that our program really does work. In fact, our CMPs are 7 times more likely to reach a director or higher level in their organizations than their non-credentialed peer. We were founded nearly 70 years ago by H. Rowe Bartle. He was involved in Boy Scouts and the YUSA. And he really believed that these organizations, social impact organizations, hold the key to creating a great America. They hold the key to addressing our wicked problems. H. Rowe once said that a great America cannot be built in Washington. It happens right here, in our communities, as we work to heal the world. He knew that these social impact organizations would be able to do more, achieve more, if they had access to the right kind of talent. Trained and passionate individuals who share a vision that within us there is the power to heal the world. In our current political environment, at a time when our campuses are being impacted by harassment, hate, and acts of violence, it is now more important than ever that we find a way to heal our communities. We must find a way to heal and look for the common ground. I think it's worth saying one more time. A great America, or more importantly even, a great world, is not built in Washington, D.C. We cannot sit back and hope that someone else fixes the social issues facing our communities today. I'm sorry, my throat is very dry, so I hope you can hear me. So all of this reminds me of the starfish story, and you're probably familiar with it. A traveler was walking along the beach one day, and in the distance he saw a man picking up starfish and throwing them into the sea. And when he got to the man, he said, "There's miles of beach and hundreds of starfish. Do you really think that will make a difference?" And the man said, "Yes. The tide's going out and the sun is up, and if we don't throw the starfish back into the sea, then they'll die." So the traveler said, "But there's so many. Do you really think you can make a difference?" And the man said, "It made a difference for that one." The starfish story reminds me that what we are doing does make a difference. Nonprofit staff can and do make a difference in our community. The nonprofit sector has always been there to answer the call. When government was no longer able to provide the social services that our populations needed, we stepped forward. In every corner of this nation, there's a nonprofit that's helping a citizen. Men and women of good intent are joining together in organizations that vow to roll back the world's ills and nurture pathways to progress. Where others merely bemoan the world's problems, we are optimistic above all and united by mission. So what is the solution to our wicked problems? We must turn our attention to creating an army of social change agents who are prepared to address not just the issue itself, but the system. The most pressing social issues are all rooted in systems. The doctors and nurses that helped my father, they made an unbearable situation a bit more bearable. But the for-profit health organizations that cannot spend time looking for cures unless there is a profit motive, that's a wicked system. When I teach, I tell my students that programs and organizations are oftentimes just Band-Aids for symptoms. They do deal with a very urgent and real need, but they don't focus high enough up the food chain. We cannot forget the dead fish principle. If you look in the water and see a pool of dead fish, don't make the mistake of assuming that the water is the problem. You have to go upstream and find the source. Because oftentimes what the real problem is not where the symptom has manifested itself. To fix complex issues like homelessness and climate change, we need to reform the system that caused the problem. I heard it once said that systems are created to achieve the exact outcomes that we abhor. Yet we spend so much time and energy focused on the more immediate needs. Let me just be clear. After-school programs, hospitals, daycares, they are all providing critical services and deserve our support. But I am suggesting that we can hold two important objectives in our heart and in our hands at the same time. As Jordan Vernoy discussed in the opening keynote address, feeding the hungry is a critical mission. But to make real change, we must focus on the system that created food insecurity. Insurmountable? Absolutely not. Systems were created by people, and they can be changed by people. We have a network of more than 1 million nonprofit organizations operating in the US. Let's help them be as successful as possible by stocking them with trained and passionate professionals, those who understand systems and how real change happens. We have made progress. Just a few examples include teen pregnancy. It's down 42% since 1990. Adult cigarette smoking hit an all-time low this year. In 2016, we took 6 species off the endangered species list, including my personal favorite, the giant panda. And what about cancer? The overall death rate from cancer in this country has been declining since the early 90s. Our world is becoming a better place, but we must turn up the volume. My opening slide was a quote from Otto Scharmer. He's an author and social scientist, and he talks about creating a new collective leadership capacity, that developing such a leadership capacity would allow us to create a future of greater possibilities. I believe that a future of greater possibilities is a reality, and not for future generations, but for our generation. I believe that because I can see the new consciousness, the collective leadership capacity, being developed in campuses all across this nation and definitely represented in this room tonight. So I said to you, the answer, the solution to our very wicked problems is right in this room. It's not one of us, it's not even all of us, but it's here. And I also said that we need to change everything. What I meant is we need to shift our focus so that we're not just taking care of starfish, but we're figuring out the system that leaves the starfish to die and the tide rushing out. The solution is our very network, nearly 40 colleges and college campuses with hundreds of thousands of students, 15 national nonprofit partners who care for millions of people and are, at this very moment, tackling many of our most wicked problems. Our nearly 10,000 certified nonprofit professionals and 3,000 students seeking our credential. We are the largest network in the country working to build an army of change agents. I see no better use of our talents and resources than to focus on creating real change. The Alliance's mission is to create a talent pipeline, but our vision is to create a better world. That is who we want to be when we do grow up. The key is we must be able to behold the magnitude and complexity of the problem, while at the same time understanding that stopping to throw a starfish back in the sea is a worthwhile endeavor. Although the world has many illnesses, it also offers us many solutions. We were very intentional in selecting the theme Innovate. We know that you will leave this conference with a better capacity to address those systems. They're creating those outcomes that we all abhor, and we have to get to work. So please, stand with me. No, I mean actually stand with me. Oh my God, thank you so much. So just take a moment to look around the room and see what I can see. A new day is upon us. And although there is a lot of work ahead of us, I see a room full of change agents. They have the right tools and heart to make this happen. Thank you very much.